Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes a whole stack of sources and, well, digs through them to pull out the key insights for you. Today we're doing something a bit different, plunging into a really specific competitive event, a League of Legends match, from something called a Subpersonalities tournament.
Right, and this isn't your typical tournament. The idea here, the Subpersonalities thing, it's like an experiment. You've got two players, Kenny and Mac, but they aren't just playing normally. They're embodying these distinct strategic mindsets, these subpersonalities.
Exactly. It gives us this unique chance to see deeply different strategic ideas clash, like in real time. So our mission today, unpack how these two really fundamentally different approaches played out on the battlefield. We want to see what it tells us about making decisions under pressure, individual skill versus team play.
Totally. Think of it less as just a game recap and more like a story, a narrative of these opposing playstyles. You're essentially going to see this Guardian's Wall, this defensive fortress strategy, try and fend off the all-rounder skirmishers, a team built for, well, constant fighting.
A classic matchup, really. Defense versus aggression.
Yeah.
So let's introduce Kenny's team first, the Guardian's Wall. They picked Garen top, Rammus jungle, Galio mid, Caitlyn for damage, and Braum support. The whole strategy was about building this super tough front line, right? Garen, Rammus, Galio can soak up so much punishment. And they're great at peeling, keeping enemies off Caitlyn, their main carry. They wanted to scale, get strong over time, and just protect her.
And then you flip it, and you've got Mac's team, the all-rounder skirmishers, Sett top, Lucian jungle, Ekko mid, Lucian carry, and Rakan support. Completely different philosophy here. Fast-paced, needed sharp mechanics, built for skirmishing those quick, small fights.
Yeah, great at picking off single targets, diving towers, really controlling the tempo, the speed of the game. Okay, so we've got the blueprints. The big question is obvious. What actually happens when the Guardian's Wall tries to stop the all-rounders skirmishers? Let's unpack that. All right, digging a bit deeper into Kenny's Guardian's Wall. The strengths were pretty obvious in the picks. That front line, like we said, Garen, Rammus, Galio, just incredibly tanky.
Super durable.
And they had great tools for disengage and anti-dive. If Mac's team tried to jump on Caitlyn, Braum and Galio spectrally could just push them right back.
Plus, Caitlyn's range and traps gave them that zone control. She could dictate where the fights would happen, ideally from a safe distance.
But they had weaknesses too, of course. They were quite slow as a team, not much mobility.
And vulnerable to poke?
Yeah, vulnerable to poke damage from afar, or teams that could disrupt their formation. And crucially, they needed time. Time to scale up, time to group up.
Which is the perfect contrast to Mac's all-rounder skirmishers. They thrived on, well, almost chaos. High-tempo skirmishing was their bread and butter. Incredible tools to start fights the engage and to dive under towers. Every single player on that team could make a big play.
Potential playmakers everywhere.
Exactly. But the flip side, a much squishier backline than Kenny's team. Lucian and Ekko aren't tanks. And they weren't as good if the fights dragged on, those slow front-to-back team fights. There was always that danger of overcommitting, diving too deep, and getting caught.
Right.
What's really interesting is how you can see these pre-game strengths and weaknesses just directly mapping onto how the match actually played out.
And you could see it straight away in the early game, those first, say, 15 minutes. Mac's team immediately started pushing that aggressive style. Top lane, Kenny's Garen was playing it safe, farming slowly. Mac's Sett was winning the trades, putting on pressure, but couldn't quite get a solo kill.
Standard matchup there, mostly.
Mid lane, you had Ekko and Galio fighting for push priority, trying to clear the minion waves faster to get pressure or roam. And Mac's Ekko showed their hand early. He started roaming with his jungler, Lucian, looking for plays around the map pretty quickly.
That roaming pressure is key for their style.
But the real flashpoint, the first big moment, came at about 6.5 minutes. Mac's bot lane, Lucian and Rakan, hit level 3 just ahead of Kenny's Caitlyn and Braum. And Rakan just seized the moment. Perfect engage onto Caitlyn, caught her completely off guard.
Bam. First blood for Lucian.
And they weren't done. Lucian comes down, dives right under Kenny's tower.
Yeah.
Risky play, but it worked. Double kill from Mac's bot lane. Huge swing early.
Max Rakan, for me, was the early game MVP right there. No question. His aggression, the way he moved around the map denying vision, it directly attacked Kenny's whole game plan. Kenny needed safety and time.
And Rakan just denied it from the start.
Exactly. Forced them into bad fights. It really shows how one aggressive player, one well-executed plan, can just dismantle that kind of passive scaling strategy.
But there were trade-offs, right? Kenny did manage to secure the first dragon around that time. Galio rotated down to help. That's a good long-term buff.
True, they got something back. But Mac immediately answered by taking the first Rift Herald.
Which helps take down towers much faster.
Right. And sure enough, by just before 12 minutes, Mac had taken down Kenny's bot lane tower.
So it raises that classic question, doesn't it? What's better early? The scaling dragon buff or the immediate map pressure from Herald and getting that first tower?
Always a tough calculation.
Okay, so moving into the mid-game, roughly 15 to 25 minutes in, Kenny's team, the Guardians Wall, they clearly adapted. They started grouping up much more. Focused on controlling vision around mid lane, around the Dragon Pit. Caitlyn started putting down her traps, trying to create those safe zones.
Setting up their defensive perimeter, finally.
Yeah. And Galio began using his ultimate more proactively, trying to force fights on their terms, jumping in from range. And it worked. Around 18.40, near the river, they had a really clean team fight. Rammus managed to taunt Mac's Ekko under the tower, basically taking him out of the fight for a few critical seconds.
Smart play. Using the tower's damage.
And Braum, the support, did brilliantly. He intercepted Lucian's entire ultimate with his shield, just soaked it all up to protect Caitlyn.
Clutch defensive play.
Which let Caitlyn clean up. She got 2 kills. That fight led directly to Kenny getting their second dragon, and they started to get some real map control back. Momentum shift.
But Mac's team didn't panic. They regrouped. Sett started using his teleport for flanks coming in from unexpected angles.
The flank TP. Always dangerous.
And they found their counterpunch at 22.15. Lucian and Rakan worked together beautifully. Caught Caitlyn totally out of position before the fight even properly started. A pick.
Oh, that's killer against Kenny's strategy.
Yeah.
Losing Caitlyn early is disaster.
Exactly. And then Ekko, seeing the opening, used his ultimate Chrono Break to flank Kenny's team from behind as they were reacting to the Caitlyn pick. Hit them from 2 sides at once. It resulted in a huge 4-for-1 trade in Mac's favor. Basically wiped Kenny's team off the map.
Wow. And what do you do after a wipe like that?
You take Garen. Which they did, immediately. Massive objective, huge power swing back to Mac.
So that mid-game, it swung back and forth, but Mac came out way ahead in the end. Who was the key player there for them?
I think you've got to give the mid-game MVP to Ekko. He was the one turning those moments of chaos, those vision gaps, into kills. He consistently found those flanks, used his ultimate perfectly to either dive the backline or get out of trouble. He made Kenny constantly afraid of the fog of war.
Yeah, you could feel the pressure he was creating just by being unseen. He forced Kenny to play scared.
Definitely. His ability to punish any small mistake was crucial in that period.
All right, so Mac gets Baron. We're into the late game now, 25 minutes plus. That Baron push must have been intense for Kenny. Mac used it well, broke Kenny's mid lane inhibitor and the bot lane inhibitor. Super minions streaming into Kenny's base. That's immense pressure.
It really is. But credit to Kenny's team, they turtled incredibly well, played that base defense perfectly. They hunkered down, cleared the waves, and even set this clever little trap in a brush near their base. They actually managed to kill Max Lucian.
Oh, nice. Buying crucial time.
Exactly. It relieved a ton of pressure, let them stabilize a bit. A moment of hope for the Guardians Wall.
But then, the clock ticks past 30 minutes, and the Elder Dragon spawns at 30.20.
The game decider, potentially. Amplifies all your other dragons, gives that execute burn. Huge.
You could just feel the tension.
Bruh.
Both teams knew this was probably it. Everyone commits, full send for Elder. The final fight kicks off. Kenny's Galio jumps in, trying to get a big engage, lock down Mac's carries.
Good initiation attempt.
Then Mac's Sett counters, uses his ultimate, grabs Caitlyn Kenny's win condition, and literally throws her into her own team, stunning them. Huge play.
Oh, devastating, turning their own carry against them.
But just as it looks like disaster for Kenny, their Rammus makes an incredible reaction play. Taunts Ekko right as Ekko uses his ultimate.
Stalling Ekko's damage at the perfect moment buys a crucial second or two.
For a split second, the fight looks, maybe even, scrambly, chaotic.
Until Rakan lands it, a massive 4-man charm, catches almost Kenny's entire team, makes them just walk harmlessly towards him.
The game breaker.
Absolutely. And Lucian immediately follows up with a super flashy high-skill kick flash onto Braum, booting Kenny's support away from the fight. Just textbook cleanup after that Rakan charm. Mac's team rolls through them, secures the Elder Dragon, and marches straight into Kenny's base. Game over at 33.49.
And there it is. Mac takes the win. Final kill score. Mac 25, Kenny 18. So just quickly recap those key objectives again. First Blood went to Mac's bot lane. First Dragon to Kenny. First Herald went to Mac. First Baron also to Mac. And ultimately, Elder Dragon to Mac.
Pretty clear objective control for Mac in the end, despite Kenny getting that first dragon. And for the overall match MVP, it just has to be Rakan, Mac's support. His KDA tells part of the story, 1 kill, 2 deaths, but 19 assists. He was involved in almost everything.
19 assists. Incredible.
He started nearly every good fight for them. All those early skirmishes, setting the tempo, and then, of course, that absolutely game-sealing 4-man charm at Elder. Just clutch.
Couldn't agree more.
An honorable mention, though, has to go back to Ekko. Like we said, he consistently outplayed Galio mid, landed those huge chrono breaks, those crucial flanks. He was the constant threat that forced Kenny onto the back foot whenever they didn't have vision. He really embodied that skirmishing pressure.
Yeah, Rakan opened the door and Ekko ran right through it time and time again. So if we zoom out, connect this back to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
This whole match was just a scrappy, intense fight. Back and forth, tons of brawls, big moments. And those completely different ideas about how to win. Our sources summed it up nicely. This game was the embodiment of Mac's improvisational energy, chaotic, daring, stylish.
Whereas Kenny played smart, measured league, very calculated defensive, and they almost made it work. They almost turned it around with that setup in defense.
Almost, but the source concludes. Mac's team just had more burst, boldness, and bravado. The wall held for a while, but Rakan cracked it wide open.
A perfect summary. The aggression just eventually broke through the defense.
What a fascinating deep dive that was. It really highlights how even within a game, these core strategic ideas, individual skill, team coordination, adapting under pressure, play out so dramatically.
It's a great case study, and it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How does understanding these clashes, defense versus offense, planned versus improvised, how does that sharpen your own thinking? Whether it's in a game or at work or anywhere else, can you better spot strengths and weaknesses now? Can you adapt your own plans more effectively?
Yeah, and can you spot that Rakan in your own challenges, that one key element, that person, that action, that could potentially just crack the whole situation open for you?
Exactly. Something to think about how these dynamics show up in your own world.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.